their own medical records kept private from their parents. 12 is the age when they kick the parent out of the well visit. By the way, parents, you don't have to leave. It's a lie. Stay. Pull your kids. Say, we're done here. Don't fill out any of those stupid forms that they say, you know, do you have a gun at home? Do you have this? Do you feel sad? Don't fill out any of those. I take the thing and I throw it out. Done. No. Take your kid to a minute clinic if you have to. But 12 is the magic number. Why is 12 so magical? Where are they going with 12? You know where they're going with 12, right? Where they can consent to sex. That's the long game. Because once a child can consent to leave their home, get a COVID shot, control their abortions, control their medical, what else can't? Well, a 12-year-old can certainly say yes or no to sex. That's the end game. That's the end game.
Okay, I'm going to have, there's some Spanish questions, so I'm going to translate. Someone asked, what are we going to do to better this situation? Anyone want to answer that? Okay, la pregunta que estoy preguntando es, ¿qué van a hacer para mejorar toda esta situación?
Goal, do you need to meet them? All right, you got me now?
Yeah, I got
okay,
you.
Now. The goal that we've all have been coming together. Say it or you need me to
No,
wait?
go ahead.
Okay,
you
well,
can
right.
break in like
okay.
after a few sentences.
All right, cool. How we better this that we're coming together. How we come together is anytime that people come together for a common goal, even if we read the Word of God, Herod and Pilate, they didn't like each other, but they came together to get rid of Jesus, right? They had a common goal in order to get rid of Christ. What we have to do is make sure we have a common goal, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whoever you are, it doesn't matter. Our children are our goal. Our children are our right now, our future leaders. Our children are who we have to make sure we fight for. As a dad of 7, 5 boys and 2 girls, I can imagine them. They have a hard time trying to tell me that you're going to take my 12-year-old away and I'm not going to know where they are. No problem, because I'm going to find you. It's nothing that's going to keep me from, you have a network, so do I. I have a network. We're going to find out what's happening because no doubt when the child actually gets in trouble, they're going to hold the parent responsible, right? They're going to hold the child responsible. So how we come together is that we have to come together. There's no more thinking about it, whether you're on this side or on that side. How we come together is that we come together. That's how we better the situation. We all wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm coming in and I'm standing for righteousness because the Bible says righteousness exalt a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. So as long as we come together, regardless whatever side we're on, we can do this. We can win this fight. As you said, what, $1 million would have done it? I've seen people on TV raise a lot of money in 30 minutes. $1 million is nothing, for what we need to do. Because when you stand for what's right and we do what's right because it's right, I believe we all can come and do it together. We just need to do it. We all just have to do it. Thinking about it and talking about it, there's a statement, there's a saying I learned coming up. You have to be about it. Not just talking about it, you have to be about it. Let's make it happen.
Okay. It's okay. It's,
yeah. Okay. Go.
Okay. Okay. So, ¿cómo vamos a mejorar esta situación?
Okay.
Pastor Oliver explicó que es estar unidos, ¿verdad? No importa si eres republicano, demócrata, estar unidos con los padres y decir, ok, basta, ya no más. Educarlos con Dios primero, ¿verdad? Y unirse. Repite la palabra unirse, porque eso es la clave cómo vamos a ganar esta guerra. Es ser unidos, estar juntos y hablar, ¿verdad? Como estaba hablando con tu mamá. hablar con los vecinos, con las familias, con otras personas que no conocen, que a lo mejor tú miras una situación que ellos están en necesidad, explicar, unirse, no más dejar y decir, oh, esos son sus problemas de ellos. No, ahora es problema de todos. Necesitamos estar juntos y unidos para ganar esta guerra. Sí.
Sí.
Yes.
It's very important for the Spanish speaking community to understand that they're being picked on in this movement.
Yes.
Okay, they started
Preach it, yes.
in the farming areas, and they did it because traditionally Spanish speakers have a lot of trust in the medical community, and they treat teachers with reverence. And you have to put that aside and look at them as not your friend and not trustworthy, and it's hard to do because they went after the Hispanic community first. They figured you were working 2 jobs, you didn't speak English, and so they could give these books to your children and you would not know, and they were right.
Dice la abogada que los latinos fueron la primera comunidad de atacar que el gobierno hizo. ¿Por qué? Porque sabe que las familias estamos trabajando 2 trabajos, las mamás están ocupadas y tenemos confianza en los doctores y en el gobierno. So, estas cosas que ellos saben, los pudieron manipular y meterse en nuestros hogares para cambiar el hogar, agarrar nuestros hijos y educarlos en lo que ellos quieren, no lo que es correcto, ¿verdad? So, otra vez repitiendo que nuestra comunidad latina fue la primera que fue atacada en esta injusticia, ¿verdad? Sí.
Buenas tardes a todos. Les agradezco que me invitaron a este meeting. Quiero hacerles una pregunta. Ya sabemos mucho de lo que se habló, al menos yo como latina sé mucho. Yo he visto mucho problema de lo que aquí se habló. Ahora yo digo, todos los que estamos aquí somos responsables de hacer algo para ayudar a parar esto. Y si todos los que estamos aquí, mayoría, somos cristianos, tenemos más responsabilidad. Entonces, necesitamos dar el segundo paso. Ya no podemos quedarnos aquí nada más parados, vinimos y oímos y ya nos vamos a la casa y ahí queda todo. No, hay que dar el segundo paso. ¿Cómo? Todos unidos. Si aquí hay un pastor o 2 o 3, podría haber a lo mejor enseguida, si nos unimos, 40. Aquí hay bastantes iglesias cristianas en inglés y en español y nos debemos de unir todos, como cuando cayeron los muros de Jericó. Tener fe que ese mismo Dios de aquel entonces es el que está hoy. Dígales, por favor.
She's just kind of repeating the unity. If we're Christians, we have a responsibility, that it's time to take that second step to move forward. Her being a Latina, she's very aware of what's happening, and she's already explained to me, she's spreading the news. They're very much aware. They need help, the Latino community, to take that second step. They need leaders to unite. She was saying, pastors, churches, to guide them, because that's where they assemble. So they would love for the majority to just speak out. She is a community in the community, speaking for other Latinos that are thinking the same way.
Sorry, I'm gonna talk again. Pero voy a hablar en español también porque yo pienso que es muy importante que la comunidad latina y los hispanos vayan a las reuniones locales, a las reuniones de las escuelas, a las reuniones de su ciudad y hablen. Ustedes pueden hablar en español y hay una traductora que les puede traducir a ustedes. No tengamos miedo. Nosotros tenemos un poder muy grande que somos hispanos. Nosotros no queremos que nuestros hijos sean indoctrinados en las escuelas. No vinimos a este país para eso. No tengamos miedo. Vayan a las reuniones, hablen, escríbanle cartas a la letters to the editor, escribiendo sus pensamientos, lo que sentimos y cómo nos sentimos. Eso es lo que quiero decir. Gracias.
Really quick, just she wants the Latino community to know to get active, go to the school board meetings, wherever anyone is fighting this fight, to write letters, make phone calls, and that the Latinos didn't come here to have their children indoctrinated. They ran from that. They don't want that. They're willing to stand up and fight for this.
Sí. I'll hold the microphone. I'll hold the microphone. Go ahead.
Antes de cambiar de inglés al español, oí algo de la señora quien no veo. Escuché, back to English, I guess. From the woman that I can't see there, I heard all Catholics and Christians have to do something. Weren't all Christians Catholics until the 16th century? I know about many. That was my question. I asked the question. Weren't all Christians Catholic before the 15th century? Many broke off 500 years before that, became Orthodox or Eastern Catholics.
I think the bottom line, and I'll let you have this in a second, it doesn't matter if we're Hispanic, it doesn't matter if we're white, it doesn't matter if we speak English, it doesn't matter if we speak Spanish, it doesn't matter if we're Christians, it doesn't matter if we're Catholics. We all have to stand up.
Oh, well. She's getting there. I interrupted. Yeah, I'm not an expert on theology, but I was raised Catholic, and when I hear the two terms, Christian and Catholic, I think, for me at least, it's somebody who's not going to Catholic church is being called a Christian. But what I really wanted to just say is when I've been speaking out to the faith groups in Davis, so when I share the information about what's in our schools, I'll often send it to every church in Davis. So the Lutheran, the Methodist, the Episcopalian, the Catholic, the Baptist, I send it to the synagogue. I send it to the Islamic mosque. I send it to all the faith groups. And the strongest church in Davis is the First Baptist, the Baptist church by far. So in the church I go to, they're neutral on it. They support me tremendously. But I'm just so thankful for the strong pastor, someone like Oliver and Seth, who are going to churches, who are willing to speak to this issue. So in Davis, where it's a university town, so many of the churches, like the Unitarian Universalists, they promote transgender ideology in all their programs or sex ed. The Lutheran Church, at least the ones that are in Davis, they're pushing this gender ideology. So I'm just thankful for the churches that are willing to speak the truth about men and women and the sanctity of marriage and push back on it. So in the Catholic churches, at least in Davis, they're not willing to take on this topic, unfortunately.
One more question I have is, what can we do to stop the bad influence between children in schools, like particularly the children that are influencing other children with what they know? La pregunta es, ¿qué se puede hacer para parar la mala influencia que los niños tienen en las escuelas?
I made a parenting mistake My daughter was friends with kids who had parents who were not involved with their child. The mother was not denigrating being a bartender, but that's what she was, and she partied with people who smoked a lot of weed. And I let my daughter be friends with this girl because I felt sorry for this child. And so I would have the sleepovers at my house, and I would have the dinners at my house, and that was my good-heartedness. And what I really should have done, which sounds really awful, but I should have said, no, you're not being friends with this child. And that's where we are, where we actually have to choose our children's friends. And so you have a child who is a bad influence on your kid, they don't come to your house. Or if they do, you're there on top of them, and you're going through their backpack. But I would say that friendship doesn't last. You find a new friendship, and you can do it, which is what I did later in life. I did a lot of lying. You can't see, Margaret, because we have X, Y, and Z. And so I made that friendship blow up. And that's what you have to do. You have to safeguard your children at all costs and put them in sports or an event or something that they're into where there are no trans-identified kids, because this is a social contagion. It only takes one kid telling another kid. My whole daughter's Girl Scout troop, there were 16 of them, 8 said that they were transgender. That's how it spread.
Ok, para la influencia de los niños, ¿cómo se puede contener eso con otros? Es básicamente controlar la amistad que tienen sus hijos, ¿verdad? Decir no, aprender a decir no. Y a veces por no ofender el otro niño o la familia, se deja, pero está sacrificando tus hijos, ¿verdad? Y entonces debes que meter cualquier excusa. Erin con su hija puso todas las excusas, no vamos a estar este fin de semana, hasta que esa relación, esa amistad se termine y ya no hay más. Si debes como padre buscar por su mochila y mirar lo que está haciendo, el teléfono, controlar, ¿verdad? Hasta que estas amistades ya no están. So, básicamente, el control del padre es muy importante. Estar activo y escoger las amistades de sus niños hoy en día. Yeah.
So, and just to interrupt everybody, we have refreshments in the hall next door, and we can have conversations with these guys and carry it on a little bit later. But Seth has a response.
A quick response to that last question. In this state, the school boards, the laws in the state have made it very difficult for the school boards. You guys hear me? To discipline. It's very difficult. They've introduced, all these alternative measures to, instead of disciplining, there's all kinds of alternatives to keep the kids at school. One example I have of this is in this previous school year, we had a student we were finally able to expel after they were caught at school with weed 5 times. We couldn't do anything until we jumped through all the hoops and go through all these alternative measures. Each time the student was caught with weed, she was with other kids. The collateral damage that is happening right now in our schools would blow you away, because this state has made it so difficult to simply discipline children. Teachers are not even allowed to remove kids. I mean, they can ask for a child to be removed at most for 2 days out of their class, and they're right back. We can't suspend kids for disruption anymore. I mean, they can cuss out their teacher, they can flip over desks, and they're right back at school the next day. Our state government has made a complete mess of the public school system. It's a battle. I wish I had an answer for how we combat this, but it's at the state level. It's tough.
but it's also at the parent level. And that's where my kids tell me things that I do not want to hear, but you listen because they're confiding in you. And I owe that 110% to the homeschooling. And so the only way to fight, if you pull enough of these kids out of these schools, financially they can't make it. So you come to these alternative schools, but you build that bridge. And whether it's, Aaron, when you have the child that is not brought up with the same values, trying to instill your values on these other people as well, on these other children, and trying to make, that difference if you have not removed them from your children's lives. But that's where those sitting down in those meals and not playing on those video games and having that one-on-one time disconnected with one another, and where you can sit and have that family time and have those conversations and grow close with your children.
Just a quick question going on with like the disciplinary or the bad kids or whatever. It's been brought to our attention from some other parents that there's furries in classrooms and that litter boxes are being able to be put into bathrooms or whatever. And I kind of thought that was kind of far-fetched until I spoke to another, this friend of mine that I hadn't spoke to in quite some time. I had talked to her this weekend, and she was telling me some disturbing, and this is in the Roseville School District.
It's in Marysville,
this one
too.
is in Marysville. No, the litter box I heard of furries was in Arboga, which is close to where we live. But this parent or the mother that I spoke to, she was talking about how her daughter she did not see it coming. She was blindsided at every account that, she saw, oh, they're just pretending to be cats. Oh, they're just pretending to do this. And she was inviting it in. She was like, oh, okay, she was young. She was in 6th grade, and they're just doing these things. And then come to find out that LGBTQ plus is all indoctrinated into the furries and all this other things that are coming. How does the school board, now here comes my question, how does the school board stand against what is being allowed by adults, allowing this kind of behavior to take place in the schools? Like the principals of the schools being able to say, no, we're not going to allow a litter box. No, you can't be furries. You can't wear cat gear coming to school. There is a dress code. Like how does the school board
handle? It comes. We need to hear from the parents, show up, and then we can make policy. Have to hear about it. I honestly haven't heard anything about litter boxes in our schools. That's new to me. I've heard the rumors, but I haven't seen anything substantiated on that. Talk about it. We need to talk about it publicly.
Sorry, just so the issue of furries. When I was pushing back just a few years ago on transgender ideology, my friend who at 50 years old adopted a child from Guatemala, and this little girl at 11 years old or 12, she started saying she was a cat, wearing the ears, and she really, you could go on her social media and you could see she was cat identified. I actually think I would encourage Marysville Unified parents to allow the kitty litter boxes in the school, because to me, it's safer to tell a child, yes, you can be a cat in junior high school, than it is to tell a girl you can be a boy. Because it's so absurd to me that we're telling girls you can become a boy by getting a mastectomy. At Kaiser Permanente at 13 years old, you can get a double mastectomy for a $100 copay, and you can start testosterone, at 11, 12 years old. To me, that is so dangerous to tell children you can start these drugs and these hormones to change sex. I would love the idea of telling kids, yeah, you can become a giraffe if you just, stretch your neck every day, or you could become a walrus, or it's just as absurd, right? So let's, you know, we have tampons in the boys' bathrooms. Let's put kitty litter boxes in the girls. I mean, it's and I also want to say is you know I work at UC Davis at the university, and a friend last week sent me the social media for the Furries Club at UC Davis. There's a Furries Club of, you know, students that attend the university, and they like to dress up in their furries outfit, and they're very sexual, right? You know, they've got the little dog ears, but then they've got the G-string showing. And these young students get together in their furry costumes. And if you look at the pictures of these kids, you can tell they're almost all autistic kids, right? Or they're not very attractive. They probably were never athletic, never did sports like, you know, these men here. And they're just awkward, weird kids that they just want a group. And so to be, you know, transgender or queer or a furry, they find it as an accepting group, but it is super weird in that we're teaching this to kids, all of it. So I think it'd be fantastic if parents got up and talked about, you know, the furry, the trans kids, all of it. So, sorry. But I would not for a second doubt there's not kitty litter boxes at elementary schools.
I have a question. As a legal stand for teachers, how there's a lot of teachers that I've heard since I'm out in the community, and they're afraid to speak up and say anything because they're going to lose their job. They feel they don't want to lose their job, and also they feel they need to be in the union. So I would love for you to just say something to them. What could they do to defend themselves? What could they do to protect their job and still do what's right in protecting children and families?
The microphones, the two on the table, they actually work, so you guys don't have to keep passing them around. So.
Okay. Yeah, so first of all, teachers don't have to join the CTA. There's other teachers unions. If you go to California Policy Center, they have a whole section on other unions, and these unions are actually less expensive and provide more benefits. So teachers don't have to join the CTA. The CTA collects, I think, $25 per teacher and puts it in their LGBTQ caucus, so that raises about $1 million for more indoctrination. If you go to the CTA website, it's filled with DEI stuff and trans stuff. There's nothing about education. I mean, you have to really look. So they really should leave the union. They're not going to be penalized from that. Teachers under AB 1955, teachers are allowed to tell parents that their child is suffering from gender confusion. That law does not prohibit teachers from telling parents. That's not what that law says. That law only prohibits school boards from passing parental notification policies. It is completely silent on whether a teacher is allowed to tell or not. You just can't force a teacher to tell. So a teacher can tell. And when that teacher does tell, and that teacher is brought up on for violating a school board policy, if there is one, or for violating their contract, that teacher will get a free attorney, I guarantee it. They're waiting, and will win that case. We've already seen it won. Jessica Tapia settled for $375,000 in her lawsuit. There are 2 other teachers that have sued in federal court, and we are kicking butt in that case. That case is now a class action suit. So teachers can sue, and they should sue, and there are lots of lawyers who will take these for free, and they're funded. They're already funded. Parents can sue also, and they're winning their cases too. I tell school boards, there's, 8.1 million students in public schools. Imagine 1% of those parents suing. That's a lot of money. Imagine, I think there's oh, I'm going to be wrong on my number. I'm just going to make it up. 60,000 teachers. Imagine 10% of them sue, and they all get $375,000. We're defunding public school. Haha. So that's what we really, that should be our new mantra, defund public schools, right? Take one from the team, from the Dems. But yeah, teachers should, and they are morally obligated. There's actually a code section in the education code that says teachers can be terminated for being untruthful, for lying. So teachers are obligated to tell parents morally. And if they care about students, they need to tell the parents. They're doing it, and then we have to sue on it. I mean, that's the thing. You have to sue. Yes, and most school boards, they have a policy called 5145.3. Sorry to get in the weeds a little bit. But this is a policy. It's an illegal policy. It's unconstitutional. And this is the policy that says that parents must be kept in the dark. Every school board in this state can get rid of that policy because the California Department of Education said, yeah, that's just guidance. It's not law. So every school, all 956 of them, I think that's how many there are, can get rid of that policy. It's gone because it's just guidance. These lawyers admit it 3 times, I have the transcript, that it is not law, it's guidance, so those can disappear. And then I have written a couple school board policies that get around 1955, if anybody wants to reach out. They're called the name policy. It puts the power into the parents. Parents say, this is the only name and pronouns you're allowed to use for my child. And that gets signed, and that's a policy the school board can pass. It's not an outing policy or parental notification policy. It's a name policy. It applies to everyone. My daughter's name is Margaret. You can only call her Margaret and Peggy and use she, her pronouns. And school boards can pass this. It's not going to violate 1955. There's always a workaround.
So when you talk about that number, the school board or the school policy number, if that one's a guidance, where do you draw that line? They're all guidances.
No, the school, the way it works is what the Department of Education did is they wrote guidance and they said a child's gender identity is private information. So they put that on their school board. They put that on their website. So you can go to the website for the California Department of Ed and it will say guidance, how to treat transgender kids, and it will have all these rules. Well, the California School Board Association took that guidance and turned it into a school board policy. So once it becomes the school board policy, it must be followed. But those policies don't have to be adopted, and they can be removed, right? Because the Department of Education said, yeah, that's just guidance. It's actually not the law in California. It's just guidance. We were just telling you that you should do this.
Again, it's pushback.
It's
just
pushback.
Keep pushing back.
Pushback, and it can be done. So if you're even in a liberal school board, have a liberal school board, you can say, well, yeah, you have to get rid of those too. But you say get rid of 5145.3, get rid of this policy. At a minimum, get rid of the policy. That's step 1. Step 2 is the name policy, or do what I think it's Cajon. They said, the heck with it. We don't care about 1955. We're going to pass a parental notification policy anyway. Come sue us. Which I love. Lawyers
Bring it.
love it.
Bring it. Well, so we need to wrap it up. We need to move on over and have our dessert. Again, these guys are around for more questioning. But Rebecca has the sign-up sheet that we can, if you guys want further communication with us, you can provide us with your emails or phone number. She will have it over there in the next room. But again, I thank you guys all for attending, and I thank you guys for answering all these questions and taking the time and spending it with us.
Vamos a ir al hogar aquí cerca donde van a tener postres y bebidas, y si tienen preguntas directamente con ellos les pueden preguntar. Gracias.